Chapter 11. The Town of Bitter Roots. The Bloodveil River's crimson churn faded behind them, its roar swallowed by the Bloodwild's oppressive buzzing. Dylan trudged after Veyr and Zariel, the dagger at his hip a constant reminder of Kaelor's blood on his hands, the stolen agility from the Nightveil assassin making his steps surer but his heart heavier. Kaelor's curse, now his, gnawed at his mind, whispering he'd fail them all. His vow, not to kill unless absolutely necessary, was a fragile shield against Eryndor's hunger, but it held a spark of defiance in a world that chewed up hope. Lyss's village lay ahead. The Bloodwild parted, revealing a sprawl of weathered shacks and muddy streets, more town than village, clinging to the river's edge like a scab. Bitter Root, they called it. A poor but swelling hive of maybe 2,000 souls, its growth fed by the jungle's dark bounty. The Bloodwild's glowing sap, pulsing fungi and rare roots, prized for potions that mended bones or burned away fevers, drew adventurers and coin-hungry merchants. Ramshackle stalls lined the main drag, hawking vials of sapphire liquid and dried herbs that smelled of copper and ash. Armed crews clad in mismatched leathers bartered for maps and weapons, their eyes lustrous with greed or desperation. Ox-drawn carts hauled crates of ingredients, wheels creaking under the weight, while alchemists in stained robes muttered over bubbling cauldrons. The town thrived on the jungle's edge, but its pulse was feverish, every soul one misstep from the Bloodwild's jaws. Dylan's legs burned, his breath ragged from the trek. Veyr led, his patched leathers streaked with thorn skull gore. Zariel ghosted beside them, scanning the crowds for threats. The town's noise, shouts, hammers, the clink of coin, grated on Dylan's nerves, too much like his coastal dump, its rusted shipyards and broken dreams. Lyss's story, a girl lost to a drunk father's fists and a mother's fear, was a knife in his gut, echoing his own existential dread, the weight of being nothing. He wasn't ready for this, but Eryndor didn't wait for heroes. "Keep your wits," Veyr growled, weaving through a throng of mercenaries haggling over a crate of glowing roots. "This place is a viper's nest. Greed makes men stupid, and stupid men are dangerous." Dylan nodded, his hand brushing the dagger, the doubt whispering he'd fuck this up. "Looks like a gold rush," he muttered, eyeing a cart piled with fungi that pulsed like heartbeats. "People really risk the jungle for this shit?" Zariel's voice was low, his elf senses probing the crowd. The Bloodwild's gifts are rare, potent. A single vial can buy a lord's favor or mend a dying child. But the cost is blood. Thornskulls, glintweaves, or bandits. Bitter Root grows, but it's built on the bones of many a failed adventurer. They pushed toward the town's heart, where a two-story tavern inn squatted, its sign a crude carving of a bleeding vine, swaying in the evening wind. The Bloody Thorn's walls were weathered planks patched with bone and hide, its windows glowing with greasy lamplight. Drunken laughter and the stench of sour ale spilled out, mixing with the jungle's rot. Veyr shoved the door open, revealing a smoky haze, tables packed with adventurers, alchemists, and whores. A bard plucked a lute in the corner, his tune drowned by curses and clinking tankards. The barkeep, a stout woman with a scarred lip, eyed them like they were trouble waiting to happen. Veyr tossed a handful of tarnished coins, stamped with a star rune, onto the counter. "Room for 3 one night," he said, voice rough, "and ale. None of that watered-down piss." The barkeep snorted, sliding a key and 3 dented tankards across. "Upstairs, 3rd door. Don't bleed on my floors." Her gaze lingered on Dylan's scars, then flicked away, as if they burned. They climbed creaking stairs to a cramped room with 3 straw pallets, a splintered table, and a single candle flickering in a horn holder. The air smelled of mold and old sweat, the walls stained with God's knew what. Zariel set his bow by the door, his wary eyes scanning the shadows, then sat cross-legged, sharpening an obsidian-tipped arrow. Veyr dropped onto a pallet, leathers creaking, and took a long pull of ale, his grey eyes distant, like he was staring through the walls to a past he'd rather forget. Dylan sank onto the table's edge, the tankard untouched, his mind churning. Lyss, her father's rages, her mother's silence, and the doubt that he was too weak to face it. "Tomorrow we hunt," Veyr said, breaking the silence, his voice low but sharp. "We ask around, track the girl's trail, find her family. Her father's a drunk, fists heavy with rage. Mother's a mouse, too scared to speak. Sound familiar, boy?" His eyes pinned Dylan, cutting through his dread. Dylan's throat tightened, the coastal town's ghosts, his mom's faded voice, his own uselessness, rising like bile. "Too fucking familiar," he muttered, fingers tracing the dagger's hilt. "But I'm no savior. What if we find her and—" "It's too late." Veyr's lip curled, not quite a smile. "Then we know. Truth's a blade, like Corrin said. Wield it, or it cuts you." He leaned forward, ale tankard dangling, his scarred face softening, just a fraction. "You're not the first to feel like nothing, boy. I was there once, lower than you." Dylan blinked, the doubt quieting for a moment. Veyr, the hard-edged killer, admitting weakness? "You," he said, voice small. "What happened?" Veyr's jaw clenched, his gaze drifting to the candle's flame. "Long time ago, when I was younger, dumber. Got myself locked in a Grimdark prison. Iron bars, shit stink, the kind of place that breaks men or makes them meaner." He paused, the weight of old pain in his eyes. "An accident put me there. Someone I loved died. My fault, or close enough. Don't want to talk about that, not now." His voice hardened, shutting the door on the past. "But in that hole I met a man who changed me. Lou, old as dirt, sharp as a razorback thunderskull, even chained up. He wasn't just a killer, he was a master, a teacher. Took a rookie like me and gave me principles to live by, to kill by, made me the man I am." Dylan leaned in, the tavern's noise fading, Veyr's words a lifeline in the dark. "Principles? Like what?" Veyr grunted, setting the tankard down, his tattooed hands flexing. "Lou's rules, 7 of them, burned into me over months in that cell. They're not just for assassins. They're for surviving a world that wants you dead. You're a mess, boy, but you got fight in you somewhere. Time you start learning." He held up a finger, his voice low, deliberate, like he was passing a torch. "First one, the invisible practice principle. Lou couldn't swing a blade in prison, walls too tight, chains too heavy. So he trained his mind. Every day he'd close his eyes and run through 1,000 martial moves in his head, every step, every strike, every breath. Felt 'em like they were real, kept his edge sharp when his body was trapped." Dylan's brows furrowed, the doubt whispering he'd never manage that focus. "Just thinking about it, how's that make you better?" Veyr's eyes narrowed, a spark of Lou's fire in them. "Your mind's a forge, boy. Sharpen it and your body follows. In the Bloodwild, you won't always have room to swing that dagger. Picture your moves. Every dodge, every stab until they're part of you. Lou said it's like carving your soul into the form you desire. You start tonight. Before you sleep, run through that thorn skull kill in your head. Every detail, clean and sharp." Dylan nodded, the idea daunting but stirring something in him. A way to fight without spilling blood. To honor his vow. The doubt hissed he'd fail, but Veyr's certainty was a challenge he couldn't ignore. "What's the next one?" he asked, voice steadier. Veyr snorted, leaning back, the pallet creaking. "Easy, boy, one at a time. Lou didn't dump it all on me at once. Said wisdom's like ale. Sip it slow, nor you puke." He took another pull from his tankard, eyes glinting. "Rest of the story, Rest of the rules come later. Got 6 more, each a piece of Lou's soul. They'll make you more than a gas station grunt if you don't fuck it up." Zariel glanced over, his arrow half sharpened, his voice soft but firm. "Your teacher sounds like my kin's elders. They taught us to listen to the forest's pulse, to train when the body rests. This Lou, He understood Eryndor's truth. Survival is a craft. Veyr grunted, a rare nod to the elf. Lou understood more than most. "Boy, you practice that first rule tonight, or I'll know." His gaze flicked to Dylan, hard but not cruel. "Sleep now, tomorrow we dig into this town's rot. Lyss's father, her mother, the whole bloody mess. You'll face it or I'll drag you through it." Dylan lay on his pallet, the straw poking through threadbare cloth, the candle's flicker casting shadows like ghosts. The tavern's din seeped through the walls, drunken shouts, a whore's laugh, the bard's lute, but Veyr's words drowned them out. Lou's invisible practice principle burned in his mind, a tool to sharpen himself without breaking his vow. He closed his eyes, picturing the thorn skull's charge, its tusks gleaming, his dagger sinking into its throat. The memory was raw, the blood's heat vivid, but he forced it clean, precise, like Veyr demanded. The doubt whispered he was wasting time, a loser playing at hero, but he pushed through, each mental strike a small rebellion against his fear. Outside, Bitterroot pulsed with greed and desperation, its streets alive with adventurers and merchants chasing the Bloodwild's wealth. Lyss's trail waited, her father's rages and mother's silence a mirror to Dylan's dread, his coastal town's broken homes. He wasn't ready, but Veyr's principle was a spark, a way to forge himself in a world that demanded blood. The Bloodwild's hum lingered beyond the walls, a low threat, and Dylan's scars pulsed, as if Eryndor itself was watching, judging. Veyr lay still, his breathing slow, but his eyes were open, fixed on the ceiling. Lou's rules had saved him once, pulled him from a prison of iron and guilt. The boy was weak, afflicted by doubt, but he'd faced a Nightveil blade and lived. Maybe, just maybe, Lou's fire could burn in him too. Tomorrow, Bitterroot's rot would test them all, and Veyr would be ready, his blades sharp, his past buried deep. Zariel sat by the door, his bow across his lap, luminous eyes glinting in the dark. The town's pulse was wrong, too frantic, like a beast before a storm. Lyss's fate and Dylan's scars were tied to something bigger, and the Bloodwild never gave answers without a price.